Hello, good evening, and welcome to our webinar. I'm excited to have every one of us who have joined. If you can see me and you can hear me, please let me know in the comment section. Let me know that I can be seen and I can be heard. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you're joining us from, you're welcome. Managing behavior, understanding the child behind the behavior. It's going to be an interesting ride, a very interesting topic. I want you to stick to the end. You're welcome. If you can see me and you can hear me, please let me know that I can be seen, I can be heard in the comment section. Good evening, Ebu Gold. Esther Akman, thank you so much. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And yes, we're going to be taking just a few minutes break. Um Favor Moses stands as a leading voice in intentional parenting and child development, passionately driven by the conviction that every child carries a unique
Welcome
genius
everyone. Welcome everyone. If you can see me, yeah. All right. Managing behavior. Yeah, so we'll just be taking a short break and we would be back.
Favor Moses stands as a leading voice in intentional parenting and child development, passionately driven by the conviction that every child carries a unique genius waiting to be discovered and nurtured. She is the visionary founder of the Genius Child Academy, a transformative platform dedicated to discovering, developing, and launching the genius in every child without exception. Favor firmly rejects the idea that genius is reserved for a special few. Instead, she insists that there is a genius in every child and that the responsibility of the parents is not accidental or instinctive alone, but intentional, structured, and skill driven. Through the Genius Child Academy Parenting Framework, she introduces parents to clear systems, structures, and skills that equip them to raise world changers, leaders, innovators, and problem solvers who will thrive in a rapidly evolving world. At the heart of the Genius Child Academy is the deeply holistic and well-rounded approach to parenting. One that builds parents from the inside out while empowering them to intentionally nurture their children mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, and psychologically. Favor teaches that parenting is not about control or perfection, but about awareness, connection, and the power of what in shaping a child's identity, confidence, and destiny. Favor Moses is a prolific author of several best-selling parenting resources that have transformed thousands of homes. Her works include 100 Things Not to Say to Your Child and its accompanying workbook, 100 Things Not to Think of Your Child, 100 Things Not to Do to Your Child, activity books ages 1 to 7, designed to replace screen time with purposeful, brain-stimulating engagement that helps children think, create, and grow into their genius. In addition, she has developed practical toolkits, guides, and materials such as the Family Bonding Toolkit, which helps families reconnect, build strong emotional bonds, and create meaningful shared experiences in an increasingly distracted world. The Genius Child Academy is home to a vibrant and thriving global community of parents known as the Genius Community, a safe, supportive, and purpose-driven space where parents learn, unlearn, and relate together. Central to this ecosystem are three flagship programs that help the academy truly comprehensive. One, Reset, Renew, and Rebuild. This foundational program focuses on parents. It helps them reset limiting beliefs, trace patterns from their own upbringing, heal unresolved experiences, and rebuild themselves intentionally. Because Favor teaches that you cannot raise a whole child with a broken inner framework. Two, Discovering your genius. This program shifts the lens to the child. Parents are guided to deeply understand their child's strengths, learning styles, temperament, personality, interests, and innate abilities, unlocking clarity on who the child truly is beyond comparisons and societal pressures. 3. Launching your genius. Here, parents are equipped with tools, platforms, environment, skills, and knowledge required to intentionally release and position their child's discovered genius into the world with confidence, purpose, and impact. Beyond these programs, the Academy also offers the Inner Circle and the Genius Hub, a 1-year immersive experience where parents are partnered with, nurtured, and mentored to consistently and intentionally raise children of influence and excellence. Favor Moses brings a rare blend of academic depth, personal expertise, and lived experience to her work. She holds a background in education management and planning and a master's degree in international education and development from the University of Sussex, United Kingdom. Combined with her exposure, research, and hands-on parenting journey as a mother of three, her teachings are both practical and deeply transformative. Gracefully balancing her personal and professional life, Favor is a devoted wife to her husband, Moses Onemola, and a present intentional mother who practices what she teaches. She seamlessly navigates family life, dedicating her time to teaching, equipping parents, writing, creating tools, problem solving, and building systems to support families globally. Through her books, programs, toolkits, and thriving communities, Favor Moses continues to redefine parenting, championing a new generation of intentional parents who are equipped to raise confident, resilient, a purpose-driven, and intentional children through geniuses prepared to change their world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our time to welcome our genius.
Thank you, everyone who is here. And I must let you know that I am excited you have joined us on this very interesting outing this evening. Beyond behavior, understanding the child behind the behavior. Beyond behavior, understanding the child behind the behavior. And as a way of, beginning today, I would let you tell me in the comment section where you're joining us from. Let me know where you're joining us from, your name and where you're joining us from. Why should you listen to me today? Because I'm not here simply to tell you what you should do as a parent. I'm here to help you see your child differently, bringing together education and child development, parenting strategy, practical tools and framework, as well as real life parenting experience, a deep understanding of the need to nurture the whole child. I am also a mother, like most of us on this stream. Most importantly, I remain teachable. So we are all here to learn. I believe parenting is not something we master once and for all. We keep learning because our children keep developing. So today, I'm not asking you to simply believe everything I say. I'm asking you to listen, reflect, question, and dare to look at your child through a different lens. So if you stay to the end today, I will show you how to look beyond your child's behavior and begin understanding the child behind the behavior. I will show you why your child may be behaving in ways you don't understand and how to move from reacting to responding, how to stop parenting labels and start understanding your child, how to begin identifying your child's unique strengths and potential, what intentional parenting actually should look like in everyday life, and how you can move from simply seeing your child's potential to intentionally developing it. So, stay with me until the end, because by the time we finish today, I want you to be able to look at your child and say, I see you differently. Yes, I can see Major Felix Akachuku Enwezo from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. I can see Alfonso Lillian. I can see Abu Gold. Thank you for joining us this evening. Now, every child has potential, but potential does not automatically become ability. Potential is just like should we say a raw material. Intentional parenting helps us recognize, understand, and deliberately nurture what is already within the child. So it's not like we are creating something new. No, we are going to be discovering what is already there that can be hidden with, with the bustle and hustle of everyday living and the demands that come before us. Before we talk about, your child today, I want us to talk about you. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with, 1 being I honestly feel like I'm figuring it out as I go, and 10 being I feel confident that I may understand my child and know how to respond intentionally. Don't, overthink it. Let me know, how confident are you in your parenting on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1 being, I'm not sure, I'm still trying to understand this thing, and 10, I know what I should do, I am very sure of what I should do. Let me know, how confident are you in your parenting on a scale of 1 to 10? So we're trying to assess ourselves this evening. I'm looking out on the comment section to see. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you let me know? With 1 being I'm trying to figure this out, and 10 being I know what I should be doing as a parent, I'm confident, and all of that. Don't overthink it. Just let me know. Is it 6? Is it 5? Is it 4? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 1? On a scale of 1 to 10. I'm waiting for your responses in the comment section. Pillow Time Adventure says 7. 7. That's a good one. Vic Benny says 7. So most of us are coming midway. The first reflection question we're going to be looking at is, what would your child say about your parenting? Many times we kind of want to judge what we are doing by ourselves. We believe that we're not doing badly. But I think a very important view to explore when it has to do with parenting is what the children feel about it. So, what will your child say about your parenting if you have like children who, from ages 4, ages 5, ages 6, 7 up, and they can express themselves? If you ask them and say, do you think I'm a good mom? Do you think I'm a good dad? What do you think they would say? Well, how do you think they're going to respond? Reflection 2, what would your spouse say about your parenting? What would someone who lives with you, with your family say, somebody who is in your house? What would your child say when they make a mistake? Many times we are our best selves when everything is fine. It happens everywhere, in our work with God, in our businesses, in academics, every day. When things go well, it's quite, easy peasy. But when things go wrong, we say we have challenges and trials and all of that. And that is exactly what happens when our children make certain mistakes. So, what would your child say when they make mistakes? Would they say that it is safe to fail? Would they say that there is room for corrections and learning? What would your child say you understand about them? What would your child say you understand about them? And finally, what do you think about your parenting? So, um, now these are questions that I want us to think about just as we start. The first question, what would your child say about your parenting, is very important. We can even run that experiment, We can run that experiment when go we leave this webinar, calling our children to say, what do you think, about the kind of mom I am, or about the kind of dad I am? And most of our children may be very scared to even say anything because they don't want repercussions at the end. And you can just say to them that, don't worry, I'm not going to punish you, I'm not going to beat you, nothing. Just let me know sincerely what you think, you know. Let me know. You may be surprised at certain revelations that will come up from asking that questions. Reflection 2. Which one describes you today? I want you to let me know in the comment section. Confident would be, I think I'm doing fairly well. Confused is, I love my child, but sometimes I don't know what to do. Concerned, there are behaviors I don't understand, I don't know how to navigate or what to do about this. Skeptical, I've tried so many things already and I don't know what will work and what will not work. Hopeful, I know I can do better and I'm ready to learn. Tell me in the comment section which one describes you today. We're not going to be taking a lot of our time. We're running off. Which one describes you today? Are you confident? Are you confused? Are you concerned? Are you skeptical? Are you hopeful? Who is a child? Who is a child? You know, a young person, someone who needs care, someone still growing, someone who depends on adults. A child is a developing human being, a young human. So many times I say to parents, beyond the 3-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old you see today, can you see a young man or a young woman? And there's something I usually say, a question I usually ask. I will say, if an angel or you had a dream or somebody appeared to you and said to you, your child is going to be the president of, America. When they grow, they're going to save the world. Can you still look at that child and say, you stupid girl or boy, come here, will you never do anything right? Or are you going to be looking at that child differently to say, this is my child, I better treat this child with care? Scripture tells us that saviors shall arise. So it is actually a parent that should be able to see their children beyond today, beyond their messes, beyond their misbehaviors, and begin to see the big picture and the great future that God has prepared for them. But a trap of the enemy is to keep us, locked in the challenges and the struggles and make us want to define the future from what we can see today. But that's why we are here, to be on this, to be on this journey. So a child is a developing human being. There's something I usually say. Before Samson came into the world, the mom had an angel come to her to say, you're going to have a very special child. Do this, do this, do this, do this. You know. But when Moses was born, we didn't have any prophecy around Moses. An angel didn't come, nothing happened, spectacular. But scriptures made us know that the moment Moses' mom gave birth to him and saw him, she said, this is a proper child. And then after she hid him and was asked to take care of him, and she nurtured Moses, the Bible made us understand that Moses grew up, saw an Egyptian and a Hebrew, fighting, and he fought with the Hebrew to defeat the Egyptian. So he was growing with the mindset or a mentality of a savior. What did the mommy do to him in those years that Pharaoh's daughter let her nurture and train him? So I don't know the future that you can see in the child that God has placed in your care. And that is why it is important that we start this journey that we're about to start. The developing child. A child is still developing emotionally, cognitively, socially, physically, morally, relationally, collectively, psychologically. They are still learning how to understand themselves and the world around them. And that is very true. Many times we seem to be very patient with adults more than we are with children. But other times it is mostly as a result of how we grew up. Your child is crying and you get pissed off. Well, why are you crying? You're always crying and all of that. Crying is a developmentally appropriate way children express themselves when they don't have the words or when they're overwhelmed. Everything an adult feels, anger, hunger, frustration, children feel those emotions. in their small bodies, and they don't have the vocabulary and words and ways to express them. So sometimes they could cry, throw tantrums, roll on the floor, and do a lot of things. And we get pissed off because we don't understand that though children are human beings, they are still developing. I want to ask you, as a mom, as a dad, you don't wake up every day feeling great. There are days you wake up and you don't feel up to it, and all of that. So if your child wakes up and your child is crying, why do you feel peace? Just the same way you're not happy all the time. Your child has all the emotions you have, and they are yet developing. Their brains are yet developing, and they are counting on you, the adults, to be able to navigate life and all of that. So we sometimes forget that children are inexperienced. They're still developing language, they're still developing emotional regulation, they're developing judgments, learning consequences, and they're learning how to express needs appropriately. So, if my child is still developing all these things, why do I sometimes expect them to respond like a fully developed adult? Because many times we have certain expectations of our children. We're expecting some level of maturity, some level of coordination, balance, and everything. Everyday examples: a child wakes up grumpy, the parent thinks, why are you giving me an attitude? A child cries because they lost a game, and the parent says, why are you crying over something so small or irrelevant? A child makes the same mistake 3 times, and the parent will say, how many times do I have to tell you the same thing? How many times? A child cannot sit still, and the parent says, you're stubborn. A child doesn't want to greet someone, and the parents ask, what is wrong with you? Now, certain times we are having expectations of children, over things that we haven't really taught them about, made them understand, and allowed the time and giving the patience for them to be able to internalize. There are certain things that we want to learn as an adult, and we are kind of giving it our best shot, but we still make mistakes. We still, are not perfect in it, and we have our brains completely developed. These children don't have their brains completely developed until a certain point. So why don't we give room for certain mistakes, certain repetitions, and for learning to take place outside of here? Are we sometimes demanding an adult response from a developing human being? That's a question that we should look at. Are we sometimes demanding an adult response from a developing human being? So, who is a parent? A parent is also a human being. Yes, the parent is older. The parent has more knowledge, more experience, more responsibility. The parent is expected to provide direction. Now, the human parents: emotions, appetites, fears, frustrations, triggers, limitations, preferences, curiosity, good days, need for rest, everything that every human being, experiences. This parent experiences it. Now, being aware of these things helps us to be able to relate with our children with grace. What do I mean? You've just come back from work, you are hungry, and you are tired, and your child starts throwing a tantrum, or you're calling your child and your child is not responding. Now, because you have appetite, you're hungry, because you've had a stressful day, as a human being, if you are not intentional, you will react to that child in certain ways. But an intentional parent is the parent that understands that I don't have to carry my work stress or the stress I'm feeling outside back into the house. So when these things happen and your child is, trying to do something that makes you want to, react in certain ways, you're able to call your child to say, mommy is very tired, mommy has just come back, mommy is having a hard day, and mommy would need some time to be able to do this and do this and do this. When we understand that we are humans, we're not angels, we'll be able to understand the limitations we have as humans, and then we can be able to choose our responses and not just react. Yes, Esther joining from UK. I can see you, Esther Akban. Glad to have you here. I have Eukaria Chinwe joining from Lagos. Glad to have you here. I have Ukebu Oluchuku from Oka, Anambra State. I can see you. Yes, thank you for joining us, and God bless you. So, Between a parent and a child, what do we have in common? If my child is human and I'm human, what do we have in common? So your child have emotions, you have emotions. Your child gets tired, you get tired. Your child wants to be understood, you want to be understood. As a parent, many times we want to be understood. Are you even understanding me? I've been saying this, you're not understanding me. Have you stopped to understand the child? Have you stopped to think? Is there something? A child is crying. Have you stopped to ask, beyond these tears, is there an unmet need? Is this child hungry? Is this child tired? Is this child overloaded? Is this child frustrated? Rather than just saying, shut up, you're making a hell of noise, or this or that. Have we, tried to understand, to look beyond, what we can see, the display? Your child can make mistakes and you can make mistakes. The difference between the parent and the child is the parent has the responsibility to lead the relationship, even while also being human. So, we're going to look at two parents, the regular parent and the intentional parent. So, here we're meeting Ada. Ada became a mother because she gave birth, or a parent because she gave birth. So many people became parents just as a result of getting married and giving birth to children. There was no preparation, so everything they knew growing up, how their parents raised them, is what they believe is the acceptable way to raise their children. We have a lot of them, and that can be personalized in Ada. She loves her child deeply. She wants the best for her child, but she has no parenting framework. She has no parenting strategy. She has no intentional strategy, no understanding of child development, no tools for emotional regulation, no knowledge of different learning styles or temperament. So she's just doing whatever the occasion, serves. Parenting by experience. So she did what most people naturally do. She parented the way she had been parented. When her child cried, she remembered what her mother did. When the child refused to obey, she remembered what happened when she refused to obey. When the child made mistakes, she used the same methods that were familiar to her. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but she kept going. Why? Because she loved her child. The gap. Love was present, but knowledge, strategy, and intentionality were missing. And that wasn't a bad parent. She was simply parenting from experience rather than intentional understanding. Being a good person does not automatically make you a skilled parent. And that is not an insult, it is an invitation to learn. So many of us are good people. We have a good heart. We are, nice people. We are good people. But the question is, to become a medical doctor, to become a surgeon, to become a lawyer, do you just stumble into court with good intentions and say, I am very good. I'm going to save the whole world. I'm going to do anything because I'm good. So, why do we go through trainings like a system, a school, read books, attend classes, courses to be able to fit into certain roles, but just assume that we can just parent anyhow without wanting to learn how to parent? Most people grow up not understanding that there is a need to learn to parent. The intentional parent, B. Meet Sarah. She also loves her child, but Sarah understands something. Having a child does not automatically give me the knowledge and skills I need to raise the child well. So she learns, reads, asks questions, observes, reflects, seeks help, and learns about child development. She learns about her child's temperament, studies communication, learns how to set boundaries, and learns how to respond to the behavior, learns to identify strengths, and most importantly, she remains teachable. The intentional difference. When something isn't working, Sarah doesn't say, this child is stubborn. She asks, what am I missing? The reason it is called parenting and not childing is because it is actually about the parent. The parent manages the relationship and is responsible. When a child behaves differently, what is this behavior communicating? When she makes a parenting mistakes, she's asking herself, what can I learn from this? Regular parenting asks, how do I stop the behavior? Now, Intentional parenting asks, what is this behavior telling me? And how can I respond in a way that develops my child? How to become an intentional parent. One, mindset shifts. Move from my child is the problem. Two, there is something I need to understand. Two, move from I already know how to parent to I am willing to keep learning. Three, move from I need obedience to I need to develop responsibility, understanding, and self regulation. Two, awareness. You cannot intentionally nurture what you don't notice. Become aware of your child's developing stage, their temperament, their strength, their struggles, their interests, emotional patterns, learning styles, communication, and everything. Know what is obtainable with certain ages. Between ages 0 and 2, there is something to expect. Between ages 3 and there is. Understand the age your children are or your child is, and then know what is applicable to those stage. That lets you know when to feel like this is going wrong. I want to understand that this is normal. This is normal. This is developmentally appropriate. Knowledge and understanding. Love says, I want the best for my child. Knowledge says, what does the best actually require? So, number four, entails skills, tools, and resources. Knowing is not enough. You need to know what to do. How do I respond when my child is crushing confidence? How do I establish boundaries? How do I develop responsibility? How do I identify strengths? How do I support a struggling child? These are all the things that knowledge would fill in. Now, number five, community. You cannot do everything alone. Intentional parents need people who understand the journey, people who can challenge them, people who can teach them, people who can encourage them, and people who can provide perspective. Number six, systems and structure. Good intentions without structure often disappear. So we need routines, learning, connection, communication, responsibility, family life, and skill development. Seven, resilience. This is very important because intentional parenting doesn't mean perfect parenting. You will get tired. You make mistakes. You will lose your temper sometimes. You will have difficult seasons. Intentional parent doesn't say, I must never get it wrong. They say, when I get it wrong, I will learn. I will repair and I'll try again. Beyond behavior. Now let's come to the reason we are here. Behavior. A child refuses to do homework. That's behavior. A child is constantly talking. That's behavior. But what could be underneath this behavior? If a child refuses to do homework, it could be, I don't understand it. It could be, I'm afraid I'll get it wrong. It could be, I am tired. It could be, I need help. It could be, I don't feel like doing this at this time. It could be, I don't even know how to start. So, many times parents dish out instructions, go and do your homework now. Go and do your homework now. Go and do your homework. If you don't do your homework, I'm going to beat you, and all of that. Now, when we give these instructions, do we ever call our children to say, what's going on? Why don't you want to do your homework? Are you having a challenge with your homework? Is there something you want me to help you with in your homework? And that is where we said beyond maybe, because many times parents feel that raising children is about give them food, make sure they have clothes to wear, send them to good schools, and all of that. Provide their needs. But the greatest need a child has is the parents themselves. Presence, touch, interaction, communication, beyond other things that we want to provide. A child is constantly talking. What could be underneath it? It could be curiosity. It could be need for connection. It could be excitement or boredom, difficulty regulating attention. It could be a genuine hunger to understand the world. I saw a 10 that child should be between 2 and 3. She should be around 2 years old in church. That child likes to touch everything in church. And I noticed it from when she was very young. And then I would just wonder, she will come and touch your clothes. She will go and want to touch the microphone. She wants to touch everything, with a kind of attention. You know that some parents will say this child never stays at a place. But I saw a curiosity in that child. And I said to the mom, Ma'am, your child is very curious and your child is a hands on learner. So, beyond certain behaviors that may be irritating to us as a parent, because, we feel like, why can't these children sit at a place? Do we know that there are children that their intelligence is on movement? If you sit them down, they shut down, they can't learn. Unfortunately, the school system is not designed for such children. The school system is mostly about just, listen to what your teacher says, copy your notes, and all of that. So you have those children growing up and struggling. Their academics is going down, they are struggling because they are not in the environment that understands how they learn. Children are wired differently. A child that will be an engineer, who needs to, work certain miles, carry on doing certain things, already has something God has put in that child to help that child with those physical activities without getting exhausted. A child that should go into sports, play and all of that, is different from a child who should become a lawyer. A child who will become a surgeon, who would have to stand. Sometimes certain surgeries take 6 hours, 11 hours, 14 hours. You say, this child, why can't you sit down? Meanwhile, there's something God has placed in that child to help that child feature in that future and that role. Scripture says something. Train up a child in the way he should go. And I ask parents, do you know the way your child should go? When he is gone, he shouldn't depart. But we need to understand that way. And that is why we need to have a relationship with God to be able to understand that as parents, we don't own our children. We are caregivers, we are caretakers. And God is counting on us to be able to understand his will or his mind for those children and nurture them in that line. So we have behavior, we have need, and we have a response. A child keeps crying. It's a behavior. But what could be underneath? It could be tiredness. Let me say you haven't been around. You went to work. Your child will seek your help or with somebody in the house. And those people, because let me say it's a young help who also has to take care of certain responsibilities at home, that help may not have the time to attend to that child, with attention and everything. And then you're just coming back from work, you're tired. Your child is so happy. I can see my mommy now. So I can be able to express whatever it is I want to express. And you're like, I'm tired. Don't you understand that I've been outside and everything? That child starts crying. You get more frustrated and more pissed. Have you ever thought, has this child been frustrated not being able to see me all day? Let me say the child is 1, 2, 3, and the child is wondering, why can't I have my mommy in this house? Why can't I have my mommy when I come back from school? Where does my mommy have to go every day? So the moment the child sees you in the evening, I had, something happened to me where one of my daughters, every time I come back, she's crying, she's all over the place. And I became very inquisitive because everybody says to me, she doesn't do this when you're not here. It's only when you're here. And I began to understand that it is not for children to regulate. It is not for children, it is for an adult to be able to contain. When you see a child, certain children we see as well behaved, they are able to, manage themselves. They don't express this, they don't express that. It's because they've had their, what do you call it, their abilities to let out things shut down. So they don't really trust that their expressions are safe. But if children are not able to express, how do you really understand what your child is struggling with or what your child may need? So I began to understand that this child will do many things the moment she sees me because she believes that my mommy would be patient enough to understand what I need and there won't be consequences. If I do this to any other person, they may spank me, they may be upset with me, they may be impatient with me. So I will just hang on until I see my mommy. The moment I see my mommy, I'm going to do everything I couldn't do with every other person. The question is, are we that safe space that our children can express whatever with, and we can help them to process it? Frustration, fear, So many of the people who our children stay with may have threatened them, may have done certain things to them, and they are afraid. They see you and they are just crying. They have other emotions, but they cannot express it. Sensory overload. It could be a lot of activities going on. Television has been on and it's already evening. The child is, exhausted. It could be disappointment. It could be difficulty expressing themselves. Now, what we want parents to learn to observe, understand, respond, and then teach. We can help our children to build skills that helps them to identify their emotions. Your 4 year old, your 5 year old should be able to tell, am I feeling frustrated? What could be the reason behind this feeling? What can I do to feel better? But if we shut the child down to say, what is this nonsense? Go and lie down now. The child begins to learn that it is not safe to express what I feel. They're not able to question it, and they're not able to build the skills to help them navigate it in future. I was asked a question today in church when I was teaching Sunday school, and somebody said, Bible says, spread the rod, spoil the child, and all of that. You need the rod, you need to beat the child and everything. And I said to the person and the entire church, I said, it is very convenient to beat a child and, shout on a child and all of that. It makes them comply immediately. But you also lose the privilege to be able to nurture the skills and fill in the gaps. A child who does something very wrong and you beat the child has learned something. Never do this where my parents will catch me. No, don't do this at home again. But has that child learned that the consequences of that action? And has that child been able to develop the skills they need not to be able to carry out that action or to make better choices? And that is why we have children who now grow up and they are doing things that we never believed that they will be able to do, and we don't even know about it. That is also why we have children who they leave once they leave the house, they don't want to come home because they feel like, oh, I want to be where I can do whatever I want to do. So we have certain things we struggle with as parents. We can say, oh, this child is lazy. But I will ask, what if we look again? We can say this child is stubborn. But I will say, what if we look again? I came across a video. A mom was, had prepared the son for school. The son should be about 7 years old. And the boy was walking in front of the mom. And she's a Caucasian. She's a white. And she said she could see this boy dragging his leg. And she was like, hurry up, we're going to be late for school. But the boy was still dragging. And she didn't know that the boy was having his first stroke. And she took the boy to school. She had videoed that movement because there was, as a parent, there's that instinct you have. She was like, why is this boy walking like this? Many times, what if our children are going through something that they need us to stop for them to be able to express? Do you know that the same way that, we get overwhelmed at work and all of that, children get overwhelmed in school? There are quite certain things that are taught in school that they are not able to understand. There are certain attitudes that people put up in school that doesn't go down well with them. Are we that safe space that do we even have the time, or do we still finish from work, come home, and we're on our phone, very busy? Do we give room for children to be able to communicate effectively so that we can understand the specific challenges they are having? Labels can limit understanding. A label can describe what we see, but it can also stop us from investigating what we don't see. A label can describe what we see, but it can stop us from investigating what we don't see. Lazy may cause us to stop looking for the reason. Stubborn may stop us from understanding temperament or autonomy. Distracted may stop us from asking whether the task, environment, or skill level is appropriate. Too emotional may stop us from teaching emotional regulation. Not smart can become particularly dangerous because it can become part of the child's destiny. When we label a child, we can begin parenting the label instead of parenting the child. So you begin to respond to your child based on the label and the lens you have concluded. This child never listens. Even when this child has a need that you should look into, you have concluded that this is the way this child is. And that is why labels are very dangerous. So, the genius connection. And this brings us to something even deeper. What if, while we are busy correcting everything we don't like about our children, we are failing to notice what is extraordinary about them? I used to tell this story a lot. When I got married newly, myself and my husband, we have different temperaments and everything. I had to learn that my strengths are his weaknesses and his weaknesses are my strengths. So we're in the union to complement each other. Have you looked at your child? What you call certain people are coaches, are teachers, are preachers. If they grew up quiet, unable to express themselves. Many times we want very quiet children, very obedient children, children who don't make a mess, children who don't challenge anything. If that child is supposed to be a preacher or who is supposed to be, a coach, is very quiet, cannot talk, how do they develop the skills needed to fit into that profession? So you discover that certain things that we could, feel weary about our children are actually strengths that other children don't have, that God has placed to be able to enable them become who they should be. So the question is, do you know your child's genius? What does your child naturally enjoy? What do they constantly ask questions about? What do they notice that others don't? What can they spend hours doing? What problems do they enjoy solving? What do they learn unusually or quickly? What makes their eyes light up? What are they naturally curious about? What strengths do you see emerging? Your child's behavior is one part of the child. It is not the whole child. A child is not a problem to be fixed. A child is a person to be understood, developed, and nurtured. So that leads us to our upcoming program, Discover, Recover, Nurture, and Launch. Today I've helped you to see differently, but seeing differently is only the beginning. We have to discover, who is this child? What are their strengths? What are their interests? What are their developmental needs? How do they learn? What makes them come alive? I had an issue or a challenge with my son. Every time he comes back from school, the daddy will be like, Remove your school uniform, do this, do this, do this." And the daddy kept repeating himself until I understood how my child learns. Your child's learning style is how they take instructions. And many times when you don't, teach or instruct them in that style, there are children who learn through what they hear. There are children who learn through what they see. There are children who learn by interacting. So I had to say to my husband that this is how this child learns. Can you paste something so that you don't have to constantly remind him? The moment he sees it, he's able to do it. So, but if you don't understand how your child learns, you will get frustrated having to repeat the same thing. Meanwhile, their brain is not recording it. We need to understand how the brain works. And when their brain doesn't record it, they simply don't remember. And you just feel like this child wants to be stubborn. But in the actual sense, it's a challenge and a struggle for the child. Recover. What has affected this child's confidence? What gaps exist? What needs healing or rebuilding? What patterns are holding the child back? Nurture. This is about creating intentional environments, routines, opportunities, skills, habits, relationship, experiences that can help the child grow. And then we can launch their potential, their ability, their expression, their confidence, and launch them into purposeful action. Launch happens through, platforms, through being able to provide the environment for these children to begin to express themselves. So it's a 90-day journey to discover, recover, nurture, and launch. This webinar was designed to give you a new lens. The 90-day journey is designed to help you actually use that lens. It provides the structure, guidance, activities, and accountability, and the community to move from awareness into practice. So the transformation is from reacting to responding, from labeling to understanding, from guessing to observing, and from correcting only to developing, from seeing weaknesses to discovering strengths, from parenting by default to parenting intentionally. The shifts. Behavior is what you see. It is not the whole story. Maybe you called your child stubborn, lazy, difficult, too emotional, or uncooperative. But what if the behavior is only the surface? Behind the behavior is a child, and behind the child is a developing human being. And within that child is potential waiting to be intentionally discovered, recovered, nurtured, and launched. So the question is no longer, how do I stop this behavior? It becomes, what does my child need me to understand? Where does my child need help? What skills are lacking? What gaps exist? Regular parenting is parenting by default. Intentional parenting is parenting by design. And the gap is what we are here to close. So, what's the next step? You're ready to parent by design? Join the 90-day Discover, Recover, Nurture Launch program starting on the 24th of August. This is for parents who are ready to understand their child behavior, discover strengths and potential, recover what may have been overlooked, and build intentional systems for growth, nurture the whole child, and launch their child into greater confidence, responsibility, and capacity. You don't have to figure it out all alone. For the next 90 days, we'll move from simply reacting to what we see to intentionally understand and develop who our children are becoming. Your child's potential deserves more than just guesswork. Now, the link is in the comment section. The link will be put in the comment section for our program so that you can register for the upcoming Discover, Recover, Nurture, and Launch. And then I'll be giving room for questions. I'll be giving room for questions. We have about 7 minutes to um our close of time. Do we have any questions that we want to ask about the program, about our journey? Yes. Do we have any questions that want to ask about the program, about our parenting? I want to welcome everyone that has joined us. We're going to attach the link for a replay, and so that you can always catch a replay. And while in the community, if you also have any questions that you want to ask, you can reach out to myself, you can reach out to any member of the team, and your questions are going to be answered. The link to our Discover, Recover, Nurture, and Launch is in the community. You can click and take advantage. We only have, somebody's asking, this 90 days, is it every day? Yes, it is every day, and it is online. It is online. It wouldn't take more than 30 minutes of your time daily. 30 minutes to 45 minutes of your time daily. We have daily voice notes, and most importantly, we have practical things that you need to be able to assess yourself, assess your child, your home, so that you can make informed decisions daily that brings your child to where they need to be. We structured it in such a way that it is not overwhelming. You can be able to manage it and participate in it. Any other question? Any other question? Any other question? All right. Team, can you share the link for the registration on the comment section? Tim, can you share the link for the registration on the comment section? How much for the registration? Yes, so I think we just have is it today or tomorrow to the early bird ending? The early bird is 35,000 naira, 20 pounds, I think. Let me check. All right, we can keep our questions coming. The early bird is 35,000 naira, 20 pounds, or $25. The rest of our questions would be answered. The rest of our questions will be answered in the community. Team, can we share the link? Can we share the link? Christy. I'll send it to you. So the closing date for the registration is the 23rd. Yes, I think the 23rd is the closing date for the registration. You can do a booking fee of, I think, 15,000 naira to book a slot to be part of the program. You can book by paying to the accounts to book a slot, but you have to complete the payments before the program starts. Somebody says, can this be extended? Um, just reach out to a member of the team and let's. The program is starting on the 24th. The program is starting on the 24th. Let me see. It's not here. It's not showing on the screen. It's not showing. I mean payment to the end of the month. Oh, okay. Somebody's asking for an extension to the end of the month. Okay, so reach out to the team. I don't know, for some reasons the link isn't coming on the live. I can't see it there, but the team has tried to send it. So you will have it in the community for community 1, 2, 3, 4, whichever of the communities that you belong to. You have the link to the program shared there. And then any other questions? All right. Yeah, somebody says we haven't received salary by the 24th. Oh, I understand. Okay, so we're going to the team would look into it and see what can be arranged. All right, thank you everyone for joining. Do not fail to reach out if you have further questions or queries. All right. And here we come to the end of our life. See you all back in the community. And bye. Bye, everyone.